Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into CAA, Creative Artists Agency. We're looking at it through the eyes of co-founder Michael Ovitz, specifically his memoir, Who is Michael Ovitz?
Exactly. We've gone through the sources you sent over, and the idea is to pull out the key nuggets.
Right.
How they built CAA, what made them tick, their core strategies.
Right, like a look inside the playbook.
Sure.
So let's start at the beginning. Ovitz in the mailroom at William Morris. What was that like? What did he react against?
Well, he talks about this dominant attitude back then. Sell them, don't smell them.
Meaning just make the deal, don't worry too much about the actual client or the project?
Pretty much. Very transactional. Get it done, move on. And Ovitz, it clearly wasn't a fan. He saw it as superficial.
Okay, so when he and the others, Ron Meyer, Bill Haber, Mike Rosenfeld, Roland Perkins, Tom Corman, broke off to form CAA, they deliberately set up a different structure, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. It was fundamental. They agreed on some core ideas right at the start.
Like splitting the equity evenly.
Yeah, equal split. And a relentless focus on growth, getting as big as possible. But maybe the biggest one was sharing clients as a group.
One for all and all for one. Wasn't that the phrase?
That was it. Completely counter to the old way, where agents often competed within the same agency. At CAA, the idea was a whole agency worked for every client.
And telling clients the truth, even the tough stuff.
Exactly. That transparency, that group approach, it was a major shift.
And that setup really enabled their signature strategy, packaging. Can you walk us through that? Why was it so revolutionary?
Packaging was, well, it was their killer app, really. The concept was to assemble an entire movie director, writer, stars using only CAA clients.
And then they'd take the whole package to a studio.
Precisely. Instead of studios developing things and picking talent one by one, CAA brought them ready-made projects.
Fundamentally changing the power dynamic. Ovitz even said they started seeing studios as little more than banks and distribution vehicles.
Yeah, the Rain Man example in the book really shows this in action. It wasn't smooth sailing.
Right. Directors leaving, Hoffman being set on the role.
And then Barry Levinson coming in with the two schmucks in a car road trip idea. It shows their persistence, how they muscled these deals together by leveraging relationships and just sheer will sometimes.
But it wasn't just about packaging their own talent, right? Relationships outside the client list were crucial too.
Totally. Of course, with studio execs, but also looking at less obvious places, like cultivating ties in the book world, Mort Janklow and Lynn Nesbitt, which led to things like the Chiefs miniseries.
He even mentions building relationships with maitre d's early on.
Yeah, he admitted it made us seem more important than we actually were back then. It was about building that perception, that network everywhere.
And that power got a massive public test with David Letterman's negotiation.
Oh, huge. National spotlight. They set a record salary for him, and crucially, with downside protection.
Meaning his income was guaranteed, basically.
Right. It showed they could play hardball and win on the biggest stages.
And all this success in entertainment sort of naturally led them into M&A. How did that leap happen?
Ovitz was watching other big deals, like Sony buying CBS Records. He realized, putting together a corporate deal wasn't that different from packaging a film.
Finding the elements, getting buyer and seller aligned, setting a price.
Exactly. It was applying that same core skill of brokering and aligning interests, just on a different scale.
And the Coca-Cola marketing account, when that was another big step outside pure entertainment, their pitch was pretty wild, wasn't it?
Completely out there. No market research, just giving top directors creative freedom to make these little mini movies.
As Ovitz put it, they came into advertising and went out of it with a bang.
Yeah, it proved their creative and strategic thinking could apply to brands too.
And then came the massive M&A deals. Sony buying Columbia, Matsushita getting MCA.
Right, and receiving that check from the MCA deal, that $135 million check. Ovitz says himself, it changed everything for us.
It really solidified their position beyond just a talent agency. They were global power brokers.
Absolutely. Gave them huge capital and credibility.
But the memoir isn't just deals and strategy. Ovitz reflects on the personal side too, right? Cultivating an image versus the reality.
Yeah, he touches on things like the art collection, projecting this illusion of working impossibly hard.
And that advice from Ted Ashley about working less.
Ovitz reflects that he probably could have achieved similar success without that intense level of work, but the personal cost was immense. Missing out on life.
And he draws that contrast later between Hollywood, driven by ego and fear, and Silicon Valley, which he saw as more of a meritocracy, brain challenges.
It's interesting, though, he notes how VCs there now often wire up talent first, Kind of echoes CAA's own approach, doesn't it? Building those foundational relationships.
So looking back at this whole story, the calculated moves, the focus on relationships, just the sheer ambition, it does leave you with a question, doesn't it?
It really does. After hitting those peaks of power and success, constantly pushing, constantly advancing, what does it actually mean to be, well, truly well-informed?
Right. Not just about the strategies and the wins, but about the human element, the cost.
Yeah.
And maybe thinking about, what are the different ways we actually measure success? Something to mull over.